Hello, 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 hello. The greatest rock and roll band in the world. Always been a problem, that one. My name's Sam Cutler, hi. And welcome everybody. And I'd just like to thank the Ardmore for kidnapping me, bless them. Very sweet people. We've been here for a couple of nights now and had a great time. I couldn't even speak last night. I was so... anyway, we won't go there. It was a hell of a night, had a lovely time. And I'm actually here because I like these guys. I love Splintered Sunlight. I think they're amazing. I've heard all kinds of Grateful Dead tribute bands over the years, and I go on tour with DSO because they're old friends. And anyway, I like Splintered Sunlight. I introduced them last year, and they're very kind to me, bless them. They give me free water. So what can I say, you know? For such generosity, I came all the way from Australia. So yeah, talking about the greatest rock and roll band in the world. I was on a plane in 1969, a long time ago, with the Rolling Stones, because I used to work with them. And we were going to the first gig of our American tour. And we were, for last minute things were being talked about on the plane. We were going to Colorado. And somebody said, oh yeah, we haven't got anyone to introduce the band. And Mick said, well, Sam will do it. I said, yeah, I'll do it, fuck it, And we got to the place we were doing the show, and all that shit's going on, and finding dressing rooms and endless hassles. And it was about 2 minutes before I had to go on stage and introduce the band, and looking at the watch and everyone getting ready. And I suddenly thought, fuck, what am I going to say? It was like, And I remembered before that the band was rehearsing. We did a rehearsal at a big studio that was owned by Warner Brothers on the Warner Brothers lot in Burbank, California, in Los Angeles. And they shot the film. They shoot horses, don't they, in this sound stage, And so we used that, set all the stage up like it was a rock and roll show, and for them to rehearse. And they were dreadful. Oh, fuck. Because they hadn't really played together for like 3 years, and Mick Taylor was a new guy in the band. And there were two gorgeous girls. They were twins. We used to call them the dynamic duo, who were standing there. Yeah, lovely girls. And I was listening to the band and thinking, oh, man, this is terrible. And I said to the girls, I said, well, what do you think of it, And they both kind of sighed and went, oh, they're the greatest rock and roll band in the world. I said, yeah, right. Anyway, to cut a long story short, at the show, I had to say something about to introduce the band. So I ran on stage and went, ladies and gentlemen, the greatest rock and roll band in the world, the Rolling Stones. The whole place went fucking nuts. The band played, and afterwards Mick came off stage and he gave me this filthy look and said, I want to talk to you. So off we went, and we found a dressing room where we could go in there on our own. He said, man, don't call us the greatest rock and roll band in the world. I said, it's embarrassing. So I looked at him and said, well, either you fucking are or you ain't. What's it going to be, You're going to be or not. So ever since then, they've been known as the greatest rock and roll band in the world. And that's because, really, it was a mistake that made that happen. And I'd just like to tell you that people like me who've been in the music business for years, well, not me personally, but because I like to keep it real, they love to tell everyone, how brilliant they were and how they, made Led Zeppelin the biggest band and they did this with the Beatles and all that, as if there was some great super intelligence at work, some magnificent master plan. And usually that's all bullshit, because everybody's usually stoned or out of it or drunk or whatever. And actually, most of the things that happen in the music business happen by mistake. It's just an accident. So, a little story about the Grateful Dead, and is that somebody wrote, some Wall Street wanker wrote this book everything I learned about, he was a multi-millionaire broker or something. Everything I learned about business, I learned from the Grateful Dead, was the title of the book, you know. What a fucking joke. Because the Grateful Dead didn't know much about business, I can assure you. They knew everything about music, but fuck all about business. And yeah, so what happened was, probably a lot long before most of you here were walking around, there used to be these things called tape recorders, and they were small, and people had them, and it was like a quite revolutionary. You know, you could record having sex with your girlfriend on it, or who knows what. You know, phone calls or God knows what. But Deadheads started coming to Grateful Dead shows and recording the shows. And Warner Brothers, the record company, was really upset about this. And to tell you the truth, the Grateful Dead themselves were. They kind of were very conflicted about it. So Warner Brothers were like, "You got to stop this happening, man. You know what I mean? This is affecting the record sales." And I said, and the Grateful Dead said, "What fucking record sales? We don't sell records anyway. You know what?" But anyway, well, you're under contract to Warner Brothers. We're the only people who have the right to record you. You know, people shouldn't record you. So we had a big band meeting, and it was decided we had to stop the tapers, right? So this is how long this lasted, right? We did it for 2 nights. And on the 3rd night, we're all sitting in the dressing room before the show, getting high. Don't tell your mother. Anyway, getting high there and getting high and getting by. And I'd had a meeting with a couple of the equipment guys, because it was me and the equipment guys that had to go out there and tell people not to tape and all that shit, you know. And we complained about it. We said, "Look, listen, you know, we're not the fucking cops. We don't want to do this. We hate it, you know." And Jerry was like very understanding. He said, "Well, is it really a hassle?" And we went, "Yeah, it's a fucking hassle, man. You know what I mean? Nobody likes it. You know, they want to make tapes. What's the problem?" So Jerry went, "Well, if it's a hassle, fuck it, we won't do it." So everyone decided we wouldn't do it, you know. And from that decision, which was basically a fuck it, why bother kind of a decision, taping started. The whole thing of exchanging tapes went on, and nobody ever looked back. So that was yet a further example of how kind of funny non-decisions had long-lasting results that weren't actually anticipated. Now, I want to stop this monologue here. Hopefully I'm not boring the tits off you. Just to say, upstairs there's people, it's a kind of shakedown street style thing upstairs on the balcony. So if you get a chance, go up and say hello to them. They're all trying to make a crust up there. Sell you things you don't really need, but they're all very pretty, so that's kind of nice too. So if you get a chance, go and have a look at that. So what I'm going to do, because the problem of doing things like this is you have to remember things, and I'm getting old, and I forget things. So I'm going to ask somebody that's very close here if they'd like to ask me a question, and I'll answer it, as long as it's not too vulgar. You ask me a question. You look like a questioner. Come on. You don't wanna. Okay. Somebody wants to know the funniest Jerry Garcia story. Oh, Jesus. Well, I don't know that I can tell you a funny one, but I can tell you a stoned one. After Altamont, which was a disaster, probably, I don't know, most of you would know, Altamont was a free concert in San Francisco, outside San Francisco. There was basically a kind of Grateful Dead fantasy of playing a free concert with the Rolling Stones. It all went horribly wrong. And afterwards, Jerry very kindly offered me a place to stay in San Francisco in his house. So I used to sit in the garden with him and smoke dope and have fun and talk about the thing that Jerry was very interested in, which was how you actually organise a rock and roll band. And what really piqued his interest and which kind of blew his mind was when he asked me, well, how many people actually worked in the Rolling Stones office? And I told him, well, 2.5, really. The girl that answered the phone, the girl that who also was kind of mixed PA, the girl that ran the I know that guy, hey, and yeah, man, and the girl that ran the fan club, and the accountant that used to come in every once in a while. And at that time, there's about 80 people in the Grateful Dead scene, you know, running the office and all that, which was a massive kind of drain on what little money they had. So Jerry realised things had to be a bit better organised. And because of Aldermont, the Grateful Dead changed in many respects. And what they changed, the way in which they changed was they realised that in order just to survive as the Grateful Dead, they had to do several things. One of which was keep accounts, because I asked for the accounts when I took over, and I was given 2 plastic bags like you get down at the supermarket full of receipts. I said, these are the accounts. Yeah, this was the accounts for like 5 years. Yeah, so we had to have proper accounts, and we had to get a bit more organised, right? So one of the things I said is, look, you can't have meetings with 80 people in it. Imagine all you people here, for example, in a meeting, deciding who the next band playing at the Ardmore should be. It'd take quite a long time, wouldn't it? You know what I mean? So the Grateful Dead meetings used to be called for like 11 o'clock in the morning. They go on all fucking day. It was ridiculous. So I said, well, we can't have the old ladies and we can't have all the, so, you know, family, friends of the bands. It's ridiculous, you know. And I told the musicians, you're going to have to tell them. So to a man, a bunch of cowards, all of them, including Garcia, went, well, we're not telling our old ladies they can't come to the meetings. You're mad, man. You fucking tell them, you know. So, of course, I told them, and they all said, get stuffed, no way. We're coming to the meetings, you know, this is a kind of family scene. So I was up against that. And a particular meeting we were having, I was looking at all these people, and it was dragging on and going round and round in circles. And right here was a guy I didn't recognise. So I said, who's this guy? And everybody looked at him, and nobody knew who he was. So I said, who are you? And he was an old hippie that had walked in off the street into the Grateful Dead's office, saw this meeting going on, thought, oh, that looks kind of interesting, and sat down. So everyone realised that this was a bit much, you know, we had to get organised. Finally, we made a compromise, and the meetings got down to being the musicians and the equipment guys. And from there, we organised things like, the European tour. And the first year, we did 183 dates in the first year I worked with them, which is a lot of concerts, man, you know, a lot of music. And I'd just like to close by saying one thing. Probably most of you know about Watkins Glen in '73. That was the largest, and to this day is still the largest grossing show, not grossing, but number of people show in the history of the music business. Had 610,000 people at it. And that came out of a conversation that I had with Jerry, where everybody was shocked by Altamont. We didn't want to do large outdoor festivals ever again. And 3 years just about had gone by, and Jerry said he thought it was time, you know, that we did an outdoor show. And we wanted to do an outdoor show properly, where nobody got hurt and the sound was great. And we even provided toilets and water, God forbid. And so we managed to get it together, and it was actually originally going to be the Allman Brothers and the Grateful Dead. And I wanted to get the band on the bill because I loved the band. And they were having a lot of, what shall I say, substance problems, if I can be, discreet about it. So I went to see them in Woodstock. And they went, oh, no, man, we can't play. We don't want to play, blah, blah, blah. But they had no money. So I managed to persuade them to play because it was just down the road. And they got $160,000 for playing the gig, which was about 4 times more than they'd ever been paid to play at a gig in their life. And as you know, it was just perhaps one of the most magical musical events ever. Everybody had a magic time. It was very special. And I'm going to shut up now, actually. I can't remember anything else. Yeah. Thank you for having me. Splintered Sunlight are coming up in just a moment, slowly but surely. Please do feel free. I'm over there with books, and Chris DeLeo, who's a painter, has some lovely posters. Bobby owns the original oil paintings that Bobby Weir owns those. They're special. So come and say hello, buy a book, buy a poster. And if you don't want to buy anything, that's all right too. Just come and say hello. So, because we're getting married, this is our wedding photos here. I'm having my picture taken with this band. I just want to say I love Splintered Sunlight. I think their music's fucking great. So, thanks for coming. Bless you.
I see you guys. All right, I don't want to screw this up. This is history. Be happy, guys. Come on, man.
We don't smile for photos. We try to look moody. No, but thanks for listening, and keep the spirit going and keep it alive. Love you. Bye.